Hello, my name is Kimberly House, Program Director for the United Way of the Midlands Reading Consortium. I would like to welcome you to our final workshop session for the 2020-21 school year. On today, we will have a 15-year veteran of the education system in Richland County, and she's currently working in Lexington Richland 5. Her name is Tabitha Boyd-Collins. She's a nationally board certified teacher as well as a PhD candidate. She will be sharing tools and tips and strategies to help our students complete the school year successfully. Again, on behalf of United Way of the Midlands Reading Consortium, our CEO, Sarah Fawcett, we would like to thank you so very much for sharing your time and your talent with our students. We appreciate our volunteers, and we hope you return for the 2021-22 school year. Remember to live united and have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. I am Tabitha Boyd-Collins, and today I'll be working with you or sharing with you some end of the year reading strategies for students that are very, very easy to use, and also using different types of books can be used with these strategies to help students. And I know that you're working with K through 2. And so I created the presentation to serve those grade levels. Okay. But it can be adapted to any grade level, just depending on the questioning techniques. Okay. So let's get started. So I am going to share my all right, so let's get started with the presentation. All right, so end of the year reading strategies K through 2, presented by me, Tabitha Boyd-Collins. And today's objectives, we are going to talk a little bit about navigating Google Slides for virtual student presentations. And then we'll move on to our actual reading comprehension strategies. And those are main idea, context clues, teaching in multimedia formats, inferring and predictions, and then I have some websites that you can use for read alouds and other resources that you could also use with the students. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about is that I use Google Meet, and you may be using Teams or you may be using Zoom. I think with the students that you're using probably Google Meet or you're using Google Teams. At any rate, you may know this, but I just wanted to go over some of the things about it. So, sharing your screen, of course, so the students can be able to see it. And the activities that I have are interactive. So the students can either talk to you and tell you the answer, or if you share it with them and send it to them and they're able to open it, then they'll also be able to interact with you and type in answers or things like that. It just depends on however you want to do it. All right, sound for videos with Google. Meet is what I use. I have to have a separate computer where I load up the exact same thing that I have on here. And when I get to something that I need to play, I have my speakers here to play for my students. And that's the way that they can hear it. I cannot play something on my actual, this computer right here that I'm using, and they will be able to hear it because they can't. So the way that was fixed through our IT department is to have a second device and to put it on the exact same thing that you're doing or whatever you want to play, YouTube video. I mute this video on this computer, the one that I'm on now. And then on that one, I click play and you will be able to hear my sound. And as I go through, I'll show you, how you'll be able to hear the sound. Okay. And also using live sheets, we'll discuss that. That's one of the resources that I wanted to share. Right. So the first strategy is the main idea. Okay. This is one of the most important reading strategies that is in the actual ELA standards. And for some particular reason, some students or a lot of students have a problem with this. And so the way I always like to explain it is using this umbrella method. Okay. And it works really well. For some reason, they can able to internalize it and to understand what the main idea is. So we know that there is a topic. All right, whatever the topic may be. And then there's usually a passage or a story or something like that. And then they'll have a question about what's the main idea. So the main idea is basically what is the whole text about? Okay. And the main idea is only in one sentence. Okay. And so that's a very important thing you have to tell the students that it has to be in one sentence. Sometimes when you talk to students and you ask what's the main idea, they start going two, three, just kind of summarizing it. And that's not what the main idea. It is a way of summarizing everything, but it has to be in one sentence. And I always say that the main idea is broad. It is the umbrella. Okay, it is the umbrella, and the raindrops are the specific details. And so it's very important for students to be able to separate main idea and the details because they tend to select something specific as their main idea. So this is how I usually explain it using this umbrella method. So if we have a topic, and let's say the topic is all about trains, okay, and it talks about trains and how fast they go, it talks about train routes, it talks about the type of things that they deliver, okay, and so I would tell the students, okay, so what is the main idea about that? And if a student would say, well, it says trains go 120 miles an hour. Okay, is that what's the whole thing is about? Did it talk about the train going 120 miles an hour per hour through the entire paragraph? And they'll usually say, well, no. And I'll say, okay, well, let's think about this. That is actually a detail. Okay, that's a detail. It's not the main idea. A main idea is you have to encompass everything that's in this passage in one sentence. And so I will walk them through. So, what do you think will be one sentence where I can sum up this entire paragraph? And if they might say something like, all about trains, or trains can do many things. Okay. And so that would be a main idea. And then I would share with the students, okay, so when you saw it talked about the different places or the products that it's taking, those are very specific. Okay. And those are considered to be our supporting details. Okay. And so another thing that needs to be taken into account is that your details have to support your main idea. Okay. So if I'm talking about trains, none of my supporting details should be about cars. All right. None of my supporting details should be about airplanes. Okay. Because that does not support my main idea of all about trains or trains and the things that they do. That's very important because a lot of students get confused with that and they will think that if they go ahead and just say, just sometimes they just put anything in there. If they know that it's not talking about trains, but they'll just select planes. But it's basically you are the one who is going to have to teach them and let them know that this doesn't belong. This doesn't belong. And so I give them things like that. And I will say, well, what if it talked about planes? Or what about this sentence right here? Do you think it goes with that particular sentence? And they might say, well, no, it's not talking about anything. You have to train them to teach them how to look for the main idea, what the main idea is, and also what supporting details are and what details belong under that main idea. When it's talking about trains, then all your details need to be dealing with trains. Nothing should be in there about planes or cars or anything like that, unless that was part of the text. And if there's nothing in the text about that, then you have to be the one to let them know that it doesn't belong. So when they go through and have their test taking strategies, they will look at the examples and say, okay, well, I know that this doesn't say anything about it. And they'll actually be able to process and think, well, the main idea is broad. It has to talk about, cover everything in this one sentence. And this sentence is not, you know, this sentence is too specific, and this particular sentence is kind of broad. It kind of talks about everything. So I should select this answer. But even before testing and things like that, just having a discussion with them about the main idea, how to find it, and the difference between the main idea and supporting details. Okay. And this is a story. It's called The Rainbow Fish, one of my favorite. And this is where I was telling you with the sound. You may be able to play it for them to hear it, but I have to use an alternate computer. So I have the rainbow fish here. This is just a story that you could actually use with the students. And then I'll show you a graphic organizer next that will help you to teach the students about main idea. Okay. So I'm just going to play a snippet of it. It's just
Hello, my Tia in Maryland, Urihan in New Jersey, Nuseba and Abdullah in South Africa, and Lavana and Joanna in China. Hello, my reading friends around the world. What a great big reading family we have. Are you ready for a story? Today we're going to read about a fish who had something very special that the other fish hoped he would share. Let's see what happens as we read The Rainbow Fish. If you have a copy, go get it so you can read along with me.
okay. So that was the rainbow fish. And I have next, this is a main idea graphic organizer. And these are wonderful tools. Graphic organizers are wonderful tools to be able to help students to organize information in their mind and also being able to do that on paper. And so this is interactive here. All right. But the thing with this one is now it's interactive, but you cannot be in present mode. The students will still be able to see it. Okay. But if you're in present mode, you can just show it. As you can see, I can show it and I can say, okay, the main idea goes here, and we're going to get 3 details from the rainbow fish. However, when you go into this mode, I have text boxes in here. And so you can actually talk to the student after you all watch the rainbow fish, and you can talk, okay, so what do you think the rainbow fish was pretty much about? Okay. And it really is about a fish who has sparkly fins, and everybody in the ocean is jealous, because they don't have sparkly fins. And so basically he walks around or swims around actually, and he shows off. He doesn't share. He thinks he is, just the best thing, and he doesn't need anybody. Well, the other fish start to treat him bad. They wouldn't play with him. They wouldn't talk to him. And so he became very sad and couldn't figure out why. Okay, he couldn't figure out why nobody wanted to talk to him anymore, and so he went and he talked to this advisor, something under the sea. I think it was an octopus. I'm not sure, but they tell him exactly what's wrong. You are being very selfish, okay, and you're not being nice, and that's not, that's why they don't want to play with you. So as you talk students through the story, and after they read it, listen to it, then you're going to be like, okay, so what is the main idea? What do you think it is? And you're able to type here. So the main idea is it um, rainbow fish finds a way. Not just capitalize it just because a way to be nice. All right. Or, okay, that's one, but you can go on and type other ideas that the student may give you about other main ideas that it can possibly be, as long as it fits, as long as it makes sense. Yes, they can have that, use it as a main idea. Or I could say rainbow fish um, changes for the better. Okay. All right. And that could be a main idea, right? So it's not specifically talking about any of the things that happen in the story. It's not specifically saying that the other fish shunned him and they walk, they swam away and didn't want to play with him. It talks really about the whole story. If you look at it, rainbow fish changes for the better. All right. So that is a main idea. Now, how did he change for the better? What did he do, or why did he change for the better? So now you would go in and you would walk the children through different details that support this main idea, whichever one you want to choose. And if you look at it, you may have another another main idea. As long as it's broad and it encompasses what the whole story, is about, that's fine. You can use that and you can type that in there. So I just wanted you to know that that is interactive. And so if I say Rainbow Fish changes for the better, all right, then what happened for him to change for the better? All right, what details support that? That's the kind of questioning you're going to be asking the students, and they may say, well, um, they didn't, all right, want to play with him. All right, that's true. That's one detail. Mm-hmm. Um, when he came around, they swam away. And they also just told him that he was mean. Okay. All right. So all of these support, okay, the main idea. The rainbow fish changes for the better. Why? Because nobody wanted to play with him. Okay. And that bothered him. Also, when he came around, everybody left. All right. And then they just told him, okay, you're being mean and you're selfish. So you kind of walk them through this and let them answer these questions now. If they are having a difficult time, then you can go ahead and prompt them. All right. And prompting them is saying things like, so what type of things did rainbow fish do that you think was not nice? Think about you and a friend um on the playground. Think about you and a friend in class. What's something that you feel like it's not nice that they may do to you, that they possibly could do to you? Maybe they won't let you hold their book. Maybe they won't let you hold their pencil. And maybe they have 7 pencils and you just asked for one and they said no. Those are kind of connections that you have to make, the real world connections for students to be able to think about the story in the same way and say, wait a minute. Okay, so yeah, my friend didn't let me hold their pencil. I will be mad. And yes, if Rainbow Fish is flaunting around his sparkly um scales and doesn't want to share his scales with anyone and doesn't want to play with anyone and think he's better than everybody, then yeah, people are going to treat you like that. And so if you walk them through that type of way, then they will be able to understand the main idea and they will be able to understand details and the difference between the two. Even if this is K, you may have to kindergarten, you may have to prompt them more, okay? But they can still tell you, you know, the main idea and just give details. It may not be as detailed as a second grader, it may not be as long, but even if they give you one word or one thing that he did or something like that, then they are going to be working towards learning the main idea as they go to K first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, because the main idea is through all the grade levels. Okay, that is a major standard. So as they get older, their main idea is a lot of times not there. You have to imply it. Whereas in the younger grades, they can actually look in the passage, and a lot of time it's the first or the last sentence. But as the rigor goes up and you see as standards change, it could become as well for kindergartens, first and second graders to have to, um, infer, and that's why I have that as one of the strategies, may have to infer what the main idea could be. And once you walk them through things like this over and over and choose, different books, I have this book here, but this is a book that I just linked in from YouTube. You can do the same thing. You can go to YouTube and find any video, but make sure if it's not like make sure you watch it first and vet it. That means, ensure everything is proper. But when you're looking at things like this, then you know that, let's say you can put in read alouds for children for second grade. All right. And you have tons of read alouds that come up. And all you have to do is click on it, right? And then you copy the link, you go back to your PowerPoint or presentation, you go here, you insert, and that's because I already have a link in here. But anyway, this would be bolded. This will be what will let you do this, but because I already have one. But you would go to insert, you would click on here, and what will pop up is a little box that will let you put the link in it. And you would just right click and paste, and it'll pop right up. The picture and everything will pop right up. Okay. And so that's how you would do that if you wanted to redo the PowerPoint. You've already done this and you want to move on to something else. That's how you could do that. Or you have another group and you want to do the main idea, but you want to use a different book. And that's how you can do that. So I have this. That's just, to start it off, because this can be K1 and 2. And then you have your graphic organizer. Okay. All right, so that's the main idea. The next strategy I want to talk to you about is context clues. This is another strategy that has to be taught in every single grade level, and so that's why, of course, they like to start early with the context clues, because the words that they have to understand the meaning in context becomes more complex. And so if they're able to understand strategies in every grade level as they build to first, second, third, fourth, and then ultimately fifth grade, they will have all the strategies and skills to be able to determine the meaning of a word that they don't know by looking at the clues. Okay, so sometimes when we are reading, we don't know what a word means. So what do? Just like a detective, this is how you explain it to the students. We have to use clues. There are words or phrases around unfamiliar words that can help us understand the meaning. Also, talk to the students about the title of it. All of those type things are strategies when it can help someone, student, even an adult who's reading a very difficult text, to understand what a word means. Okay, and so almost on every assessment, they're always going to have, what does this word mean in this context? All right. And so they might want the definition of the word. What does this word mean? But also, you got to think about it. It's called context clues for a reason, because in the context that it's used in. So, like the word grade, grade. Okay, you wouldn't know what grade someone is talking about until you see the context that it's in. So I can be talking about what grade the students are in, first K, second, or I can be talking about the grade that someone received on their report card. Okay, I can be talking about the grade that someone gets, like the restaurants receive. Okay, they receive a grade of a ABC. So those are the type things you want to talk to and explain this to the students as well. Okay, when you're talking about context clues. So it's basically looking around the unknown word to determine the meaning of the unknown word, and and telling the students, well, this is how this can help you to determine. Let's look at the title. Let's look at the word that come before it. Let's look at the words that come after it. Let's look at what the story, what this thing is, what it's about. And so all of that could help them, with context clues. All right. And so I have a context clues video here that you can play for the students. Now, this video is really, it can be used for like K and first. Okay. But it's nothing wrong with playing with second. All right. Because that's all it's going to do is just build their skills and make them stronger. If they know all the answers, then that's absolutely great. You can also, go in and delete this one and insert another one like I showed you from YouTube. But resources that I also have down here for you are context clues practice sheets that you can use with the students. And this is for kindergarten. And so as you share the screen with kindergarten, you need to use visuals because, they're little and they're not these, big readers and things like that. But they do have schema. Okay. So they do have things that they just learn from just actually living, watching TV, watching mommy, watching daddy, things like that. Now, they may, if you just had the word spatula, okay, and you didn't have this picture, maybe they wouldn't know what a spatula was. But I know that these pictures are going to help these kindergartners to understand and to know that the chef uses a spatula to flip the pancakes. All right. So what does the chef have in his hand? What does this look like? Why do we use spatulas? Okay, we flip pancakes. Anything else you can think of that we use a spatula? Do you know anybody who uses this? Your mommy cook with a spatula? Have you ever seen your dad, your grandmother? Who cooks with a spatula? Have you been in a restaurant to see a spatula? Right? So that helps them to be able to understand that. All right. The stout cat got stuck in the kitty door. Stout. Stout. Okay. He got stuck. All right. So he's a stout cat and he got stuck. All right. In the door. So I'm going to have them prompt them over here. Okay. So we have lazy and we have fat. All right. He got stuck. Being lazy. What is being lazy? What is that? Is that being lazy? Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. You ever know what lazy means? That's like I'm tired. Does being lazy help you get stuck in a door? Does that cause you to get stuck in a door? Then you might say, no, I don't know. Okay, what does this cat look like? Is he skinny? You know what skinny means? You know what skinny means? Oh yeah, that means you're really just small, or however they may say it. Fat. Look at this fat. All right. So let's go back. The stout cat got stuck in the door, and let's look at the picture. Okay, he does look. He looks a little fat to me. He sure does. So the stout, if he got stuck in the door, the stout cat, it must means the fat cat got stuck in the door. He was too fat to go through the door. Okay, so I think the answer is fat. Okay, and that's how you walk them through it, even when you have the ones with the pictures. Okay. And so now I'm going to go to a first grade one that I put here. Now, it is not going to let you mark answers. Now I can mark answers because I have like a separate pad that I can take a picture of, and it's I can write on it on any worksheet that I have. But that's a whole separate different piece of technology. I ordered from Amazon to be able to do that. But even still, you can talk them through these through virtually. And this is one for first grade. Do you know the girl waving at us over there? Okay. This is context clues. It read the sentence, and work out the meaning of the bolded word. Okay. At us. Us. This is a tricky one. At us. You would think, okay, that's such a small word. Wouldn't they know us? But this goes directly when you're talking about first and third person point of view when they get to third grade, fourth grade. Because when you say us, that means it's told in first person. Okay? Because someone that is first person, they are in the story and they're telling the story as well. Okay? So they're in the story and they're telling the story as well. And so it can't be he and she. All right, because it's us. If it's us, then I'm included in this. So this has to be me. It means you and I. All right. Now they may not know anything about first or third person at this moment, but if they're able to understand that us is you and I, when they do get to those grade levels, okay, they will have the background knowledge to be able to understand and analyze text and know that, okay, you and I, so I'm in it. So that means Ms. Collins said that first person means I'm in the story and I'm also telling the story. And the key words are words like I, us, we. Okay. So yeah, that's how you walk through these words. And I'm glad I have this example here because I thinking about this, just saying us I wouldn't think was a vocabulary word, but that's very interesting, and it helps to build on other skills that they will need later on. And so that's how you would the thinking that you would do and the type of questions that you would ask and think about. And this is really what I'm doing, is just a think aloud. It's that I'm teaching the students through thinking through, and that's showing them how they should think through. I'm not going to say, read the sentence and just tell me what you think the answer is. Okay. No, because this is you're tutoring. This is like a lesson. So you're prompting them, you're helping them. Even if they just come up and say, oh, I think it's you and I. but we don't know why they chose you and I. They may have just guessed. So we want to make sure we walk them through us. Us includes me and someone else. If I said he and she, I'm talking about somebody else. That's not us. Okay? We're not included in it. It's not us. All right? And so that's how you are to walk through these context clues um sheets. I have one for second grade as well. Same thing. Talking to the student, um, prompting them, asking them other questions if they get it wrong or if they don't know it up front. Okay, the swimmer kept afloat by laying on her back in the water. Let's think about it. Float, afloat. Okay, laying on her back in the water. Swimmer. All right, so we know she's a swimmer. All right, and she's on her back in the. When do you swim? Do you swim? Do you do anything? What type of things do you do in the water? Do you float on your back? Have you seen somebody float on their back in the water? Okay, it says keep afloat by laying on her back. Keep afloat. Okay, so to me, that means, okay, well, she must be still on top of it. Let's look at the answer choices. To fall or drop slowly. The swimmer kept afloat by laying on her back. All right, to rest on the surface of the water. Now, they may have a problem with what surface is. Okay, so that might be something that you have to explain out. On top of the water. Surface means like on top of the water. So let's think about this. The swimmer kept afloat by laying on her back in the water. She kept afloat. So I'm kind of thinking that it means. I don't think it means that she or he or she that they had to fall or they dropped. Doesn't sound like, because it says laying on the water. So if someone's laying on the water, if you lay on a bed, you're laying on what? On top of the bed, right? You lay on a couch, you're on top of it. And so this has to be the answer, because it's talking about resting on the surface, on the, and I know that surface means, the top. So that's how you walk students to understand context clues and to really know what words mean and how to look for what they mean and how to think about what they mean. Because a lot of kids will get frustrated with words they don't know and they just guess. Okay. But if you teach them the strategies to think about the words that they may not know and all the strategies that they can use to figure it out, then, they'll do just that. Especially with, lots of praise and, things like that. They want to, students want to, when they want to please you, they want to show you, okay, you taught me this. I know, I understand, I get it. Okay. And they like things like that. So think about that when you're going over context clues with students, how do you walking them through it? Okay. All right. So moving right along, this is multimedia formats. And the one about main idea was also multimedia. And so a lot of students, we read books. I have them read books online and I have them reading books that they have. And then I have the textbook. And I try to show my students and all students, since I've been, teaching, and this is my 16th year, going to my 16th year, uh, using multimedia formats to gain information. Sometimes I will use just pictures, okay, to gain information, to ask them questions about certain things. I was looking for my picture book that I have, but I have, excuse me for just a minute. So this book is called, all right, and I'm just getting off the problem just a second. All right, so it's called The Whale. Okay, but it really is just, it's pictures. That's all it is. It's pictures. All right. And that means I can do anything I want and teach anything I want with just using a picture. I can ask them what's going on in it. I can ask them to make an inference about it. What are they doing? Why do they think they're doing it? Okay. I can ask them about if they could write something on the page, what would they write that would go with the picture? What kind of sentences would you write that could go with the picture? So I use videos, I use picture books, I use poems, I use all types of different formats. I'll let them listen to a poem from YouTube or some other format, and just listen and not look at anything and just hear it. All right. So multimedia formats are excellent tools to help students also to understand text and to ask and answer questions. So we know when students, most of the, not most of the time, but 100% of the time, they always have a comprehension. And so these strategies are comprehension strategies. Okay. Let me say that as well. These are comprehension strategies. So, you can comprehend by looking at pictures. You can comprehend by listening to a poem. You can comprehend by reading a poem, reading a passage, reading a book, all of that. All right. All those things are comprehension strategies, and they need to really be used collectively together, not just one way um, to find context clues. Show it in multiple ways, or ask and answer questions. That book had no words in it. I can use that to ask and answer questions. This video right here, I have kelp forest, and students will watch this video, and then I have the sentences over here are questions. How much can kelp grow in one day? So as you're looking through, you can even go back and have the students to look at it as you're all looking at it, and maybe you can look at it all, the whole thing. Now this doesn't have sound. Remember, I told you I had to play two different places. But let's say you get through the video, and I didn't put long videos on here, right? Don't want to, get the kids to zone out or anything. So my videos are usually 5-6 minutes at most. But you can go after you finish it, you can go back and say, okay, so let's find the place that talked about kelp, right? And these are things you want to watch before you start to teach, not the day that you start to tutor, before. So when you look at the questions, you can kind of know and have in your mind where, if you have to rewind back, where you stop to find the answer, or help the student to find the answer. Okay. So how much kelp can grow in one day? This is also interactive for you to type in. What is the difference between algae and plants? Now, you might think, oh, well, maybe this is just for second grade. It can be for whatever grade, but it's how you prompt them, and it's the type of questions that you ask them to help them to get to the answer. Okay. So if they do know how to do it, then great. They know how to ask and answer questions. Then you might want to go to something like this, a book that has no words to it. That's stepping it up, a notch. All right, because now they have to think. Well, what is that? What are they doing in that page? And what kind of paragraph could I put there that would go with what's going on that page? All right. So making sure you're using various sources to teach the same strategy is also very good for comprehension. And also, you don't know how work is going to be presented to them on different assessments. And then just having the analytical skills to be able to think beyond the text and to form new meaning to use for future. That's all we do when we learn. We basically just build and gain information, and then we actually take that information and form new ideas or form new ways to do things, because you do have that background knowledge, right? It's not just about, I mean, it is reading comprehension, but it's also deeper than that as well. Okay, it's deeper than just, oh, these are comprehension strategies going to help them to learn how to read it and how to look at text and how to analyze text. It is, but it also is different ways to build information with building schema when watching videos, looking at picture books and things like that. So let's keep that in mind. All right, so now we are moving to making inferences, inferring, and predictions. Now, this has always been a very difficult concept for students, and that's pretty much in every grade level, to make an inference or a prediction about what's going to happen next. And so, what I always tell my students is, I call it an educated guess, okay? Something that makes sense. If you are going to infer something, make sure that it makes sense and it goes along with what is happening. So I always use the three little pigs. Doesn't matter what grade level, I use the three little pigs. And okay, so we know the wolf couldn't get into the brick house, and the wolf was set on the pot or come down the chimney, and he was burned, he was gone. So what else could happen after that? And I remember I would have kids to say, "Oh, well, the wolf went to college and he had a birthday party." I say, "Okay, but does that make think about it. Does that make sense? Is that a good inference to make about him?" Okay, somebody tell me something, or maybe I would give them, the answer or something that would make sense. But I usually will go, do a roundabout and ask different questions. But if you're talking, of course, tutoring one student or two students or what have you, you could still think aloud. Well, maybe he went to find a bulldozer because he found out that a bulldozer can actually break a brick house down. So he's going to get a bulldozer. Or you can say, well, the three little pigs threw a party and they built the house bigger because it was all three of them in there now. And so they made a bigger brick house and they didn't have to worry about, the wolf. Okay. So I have video here, and this is actually a video of a teacher who is walking his students through, and it's only 2 minutes. Just a quick way of how he's teaching his students to make predictions and to infer. All right. And so, just like I said, like, I think what could happen next is, and then they'll say, I say this because I know that the wolf really wanted to get in that house. Right. So I say that I think he went to try to maybe find a bulldozer because he could have found out that, oh, I found out that bulldozers can break down brick. So I know that because I know this wolf was really, really, really trying to get in there. Okay. So it makes sense. All right. But for me to say, well, he went off to college and he um, uh, became a baker and he started baking cakes. Okay, it could be, anything could happen. You see how some movies and stories are. It came from somebody mind, no matter how they weird they are, they could possibly be. But you want to teach kids that it has to make sense when they are making inferences. So making inferences, readers use story clues, what the author tells them, and what they already know to discover what is not directly stated in the text. And when it says not directly, that means it's not telling them it directly. So if a character is mean, all right. So what clues in the story does the author tells us that lets us know that this character is mean? Well, he might say, well, he snatched Sally's books, or he took someone's bike and pushed him down. So those are the type things that shows us in the text that he is mean. Now, with the background knowledge part, that can come with things like, well, okay, so let me tell you this. It sleeps in a crib, it takes a bottle, it cries, sometimes it has a pacifier. Then they're going to say, oh, well, I infer that's a baby. Oh, well, how did you know that? How did you know that was a baby? Did you read? Did you look it up somewhere? No, I just know that because I have a baby brother. No, I just know that because, my brother is a little small baby and that's what he has. That's their background knowledge. Okay. Some kids bring more knowledge, background knowledge than other to be able to make inferences. And I think sometimes that's one of the hard things for students to make inferences is because of the fact that our sometimes it's cultural. Because I remember when I was teaching, I think it was fourth grade, and this was oh gosh, maybe 10 years ago, and I gave an example of the cat went to the bowl to do what? Okay, so the cat went to the bowl to do the what? The cat was watching the bowl. So I had some kids say, well, he was hungry. Okay, and that was the correct answer. But I also had several kids to say he was sick. And I couldn't figure out, like, well, why would you think he was sick? He went over to the bowl, and I'm thinking, you say he has a bowl, then it's water or it's food or something. And they said, well, when I get sick, I have to throw up. My mother tells me to go to the toilet bowl, go to the bowl. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can see why your background knowledge would tell you that, because that's how you associate being ill is going to a bowl. And that's what you know. And so that's why you made that inference. And it happens like that depending on what their schema is. So that's why we have, books and using multimedia formats in different ways. So they can have that exposure that they may not get at home, or they can hear it differently, or know that everything is not that way, or it could be considered to be this instead of that as well. Okay, so that's a lot of talking them through this as well. The story I have for inferences is called Gucci Gucci. It's one of my favorite stories. It is read, it's on storylineonline.net, and that's one of the resources. But I just YouTube this one, and it's also YouTubed, and I linked it to it. But it is about a crocodile who think he is a duck because his egg got away. I think the wind blew it. His egg rolled down the hill and through the trees, and it rolled into a duck's nest. And so when it came times for all the ducks to hatch, he hatched. All right, he hatched, and Mama Duck didn't know that he rolled there. She just said, "Okay, well, this is my child too." So even though he looked like a crocodile, they still said that he was um their baby. And so she named all of them, and I created this inference slide. It is still a graphic organizer because you can type in it. I made it out of text box, and to ask students these questions. So mother, she named her ducklings Moonlight, Crayon, and Zebra. Well, Gucci Gucci, when he first came out of his shell, he said Gucci Gucci, and that was his name. So that's why I don't have it there. But in the story, you'll see, or you can help students see Moonlight and why she probably named the Moonlight. They can make a great inference. It's not like, and she doesn't look like, I wouldn't say the typical moon, but they could give you, I'm sure they could be able to come up with some very interesting inferences as to why she named the Moonlight, Crayon, and then the one Zebra. The one Zebra is a little bit obvious, but still. Okay. So you would type in, what the student says. All right. Go on to Crayon, type in that. You go to the next. Why does Gucci Gucci think he is a crocodile? Okay. Excuse me. Why does he think he is a duck? So let me change that right now. So, and what in the text tells you this? So he think he is a duck because when he hatched, that's where he was among ducklings. He wasn't among any of his crocodile. Now, he doesn't know that the wind rolled him down, the hill and through the trees to land into a duck's, nest. He didn't know that. So, but in the story, you can make inferences as to why and I just told you why he think he is a duck. Then the student should tell you that. Well, I can infer that I think he's a duck because when he hatched, that's where he was. He didn't know that he rode through the trees and things like that. So that's the prompting you want to give students about that. What can you infer about how Gucci Gucci feels about the crocodiles, and how do you know this? So he comes across crocodiles and they see him walking with the ducks and they begin to pick and like, what are you doing? And he's just, waddle waddle like he's a duck. And they're like, you're not a duck. He was like, basically, yes, I am. And they're like, you're not. Look at your snap. You have a long, long nose. You have sharp crocodile teeth. You have this. And you're insane. You are a crocodile. So he still just kind of feels like, well, I don't know. I think I'm still a duck. So, how can you infer how Gucci Gucci feels about the crocodiles? Well, you'll see that in the story when they watch it. And I always put how do you know this because that's citing evidence, okay? And when they get in third, fourth, fifth grade, they're going to have to cite evidence as to why they put a particular answer. That's going to be in their writing, that's going to be in math, that's going to be in social studies and science. You're going to have to support, and especially in ELA, you're going to have to be able to support your answers that you give. And so that's why I say what in the text tells you this, why he thinks he's a duck, and how does he feel about the crocodiles? Because the crocodiles are asking him to lure the ducks to a bridge so they can jump off the bridge and he could eat them. Well, Gucci Gucci came up with a good idea to try to get those crocodiles from eating his family because he said, that's my family. I don't care if I look like you, that's my family. And so when you ask them how what you can infer about how Gucci Gucci feels about the crocodiles, they can give you the answer. You can kind of think it aloud with them. And then you want to make sure you say, well, how do you know this? What in the story tells you this? Right? When you get that dialogue going, that conversation back and forth, you'll be surprised of the things that they'll be able to say. They'll go on and on and on. And it's up to you to kind of go in and decipher what they say and make corrections on any misconceptions that they may have. But they really will begin to talk to you about it. How do you think Gucci Gucci feels after running off the crocodiles? All right. And so, what in the text tells you this? All right. So, you can do that. And I'm just going to make this just a tad bit or larger. All right. And when you go in, you can just, of course, you can type down, you can type their answers in and use this. You can use this over and over. But it's a great thing to show, the teachers if they ask, well, what have you been working with? What have you been doing? Okay, well, we did this today. You can actually, print the slide out. We saw, listen to Gucci Gucci, and then we answered these questions on, inferences. And these are the answers that the student gave. So I want you to know, how they're faring along with that. All right, so now we are to our resources, and this is, like I said, storylineonline.net, and I'm sure many of you, some have already heard of. It's been out a long time, and it just has all of these wonderful books that students can listen to, and you can teach them different strategies and skills with them using listening to these books. This is another one that I found. It's called monkeypen.com. Free books that can be read aloud to students. You can download the free book and read it to them. All right, it has illustrations. You go up. So excuse me, this one doesn't read. You read this to them. So I just wanted to have some that where they can hear your voice and you read as well, and not everything is coming, directly from the computer. So you can read these and ask them questions about it. That is a site. And the last one is freekidsbooks.org. This is another site where you're able to find great books for the students. My computer's running just a tad bit slow. So let's see. All right. Yep. You can read the online copy. You can have them read a sentence and then you read a sentence and then they read a sentence. I love the way it has that book. You can't hear it, but you can hear the pages turning when you hit this button over here, this arrow. That you can hear the pages turn. I love that. So, all right, go through here and you can ask questions. What happened? Who were the characters? Maybe a setting. You can do the comprehension strategies, inferences, the main idea of the story, all of that. So that's a great resource as well. I also have two other resources that are interactive. One is called Live Sheets, and Live Sheets is worksheets. You can choose anything that you feel like you think the students are capable of or that you want to walk them through. And the great thing about this is that it's live, which means the students can type right in here or because they can pull up the presentation too. They can type right in any of the documents. Okay. There is an apple. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, you can type in every one of them. All right. And when they finish, now I wouldn't give them one long as this, but in their finish, they can hit finished. Check my answers. All right. You can hit check your answers. If you give them a little bit of time to complete whatever sheet, they can check the answers and it'll tell them which ones they got wrong. And it'll say 0, okay, out of 10. So that's obviously not a good score because I didn't put anything in, but it'll highlight for you all the answers. And so you'll be able to see exactly what they're missing and what they perhaps need help with in that account, in that, respect. So, um, so many different here is the search tool. You can do main idea, you can do context clues if you need some extra practice on that, or you want to use another graphic organizer, or you want to use another story to work on the main idea. This is all interactive. They can click on what they think it is. You can click finish. You can check your work. This is a great tool. Live Sheets, interactive graphic organizers, and kids do graphic organizers. Is just basically it really helps students to put things in their brain out on paper in the right way, because sometimes they just have so much going on inside and they hear all the stuff and you ask them these questions and they just have a hard time. But graphic organizers really help students to see and to understand the flow of information and what goes under what, okay, and how things may build upon each other. So, um, if you were helping them, let's say you were helping them just write a short paper, or look at this definition. Here's the word. Let's figure out what the definition is. And a synonym means we need to find out something that means the same thing as that word. Anonym, opposite. And then of course they can do an image of their feelings. They can insert something, or they can just basically maybe say write a sentence for it. All right, so these are great tools because they're interactive and you can actually type in them as the student is talking to you. And they're looking and they're seeing that you're writing down and that you're paying attention to what they're saying. You're using what they're saying. So these are two great resources, as well as you have the reading resources. So you'll never ever run out of any type of books to be able to read to students. All right, or you can get books from the library. When you share your screen, you're reading out to them. Okay. Well, that is the end of the presentation, and it has been absolutely wonderful being with you and um, helping you through some of these wonderful strategies that you can use with students K through 2. And also, if one day you're doing 3 through 5, you can do the exact same thing. You can just maybe choose a different text, but I always like to start my kids from the beginning and then move gradually up, um, increasing the rigor. But I want to make sure they have the foundational things first before they move on. And so these are foundational strategies, foundational comprehension strategies for students. And I talked to you about how these same strategies will be used in or expected in the upper grades as well. And so you all really provide a wonderful service of tutoring students, because we know tutors are not cheap, right? They can be very expensive, but the fact you've taken, the time and providing a wonderful give back or service to the students to help them to be successful. So, thank you, and I certainly appreciate your time. And we will see you later. Bye bye.